I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam podcast. Joining me today is a very special guest, and we're going to be talking about a topic that I love very, very dearly. We're going to be talking about SwimMac. I'm an alum of SwimMac. I love this program. This is a storied program. It's a storied club in all of swimming history, and today we're talking to Megan Oesting, the new head coach. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mel.
I'm so proud of you. It's like this has been the weirdest year. It's been the toughest year, but like and with a lot of our peers and a lot of our friends, because we're both national team alumni. We both represented Team USA, so we have these informal get-togethers and we sort of lament what's been going on this year. But a lot of wonderful things have been happening, and so many things wonderful have been happening in your life that I forget about it. But we're coming off of you being ASCA's Age Group Coach of the Year, which is huge. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Also a board member for the American Swimming Coaches Association, ASCA. You're the only female on a board of 15, so 14 men, 1 woman. And you are, I don't want to lean on this, but it is worth acknowledging, you are the first female head coach of a USA Swimming Club super team. SwimMac is massive. And that's a tall order. Wow.
Yeah.
So wonderful things where it's been a hard year, but it's also been a year where a lot of people are having success, and I'm talking to one of them right now. How is your head?
Sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone a little bit. You know, we started moving towards our sectional meet in March, and we were on the way, and then we turned around at an exit when we found out that we weren't going, and ever since then, it has been like they picked up the game board and they tossed all the pieces around, and then they switched all the squares, and then they said, go.
You know what's interesting is that in these hard, I'm an older gentleman now. I'm a man of a certain age, and it's the funny thing is that you never lose that connection to your coaches.
Yeah.
And I've called my old coaches in my darkest moments just to sort of rebalance, and that relationship never ends, and that's the effect that coaches have on swimmers' lives. So my point is, I'm over 50, and I've actually done these check-ins, and I've done some check-ins with some former SwimMac coaches. But so these are trying times, and I do think that coaches keep us centered. But what about coaches being centered? How do you stay centered when you're a coach? Who do you lean on?
That's funny you say that, because the first call after I accepted the position was to my coach, Jack Ridley, back at Chinook in Seattle. That was actually my first call, and he knows that, and I wanted to share that with him because of the impact of who a coach can be in your life. And actually, I was talking to Kathy McKee. She was inducted into the Hall of Fame on the same evening that I was getting my Coach of the Year award. I mean, and she is a genius, a leader, just a fantastic person. And what she shared with me when we were talking this morning wasn't her lesson plans and her X's and O's. She shared with me an essay from one of her swimmers that shared that she did have an impact. And so I think we're all trying to stay solid for our kids, and we're trying to stay solid for our teams. But you're right, behind the scenes, we're human too. And so I lean on my husband tremendously. I actually still lean on my mom tremendously. And I have an amazing inner circle of friends that have helped me through not only the March, April COVID. I feel like we've gone in a bunch of phases. There's the March, April. I remember in one of my podcasts to my team in May, early May, I had the audacity of thinking that I said, we should be in the pool in about a week and a half, guys. We were not. But, that inner circle has been with me in different ways throughout each little phase. And I think as coaches, we really have to be able to talk behind the scenes, because when we show out on stage, we can't bring our stuff with us. It has to be about them.
It is, and it's but coaches are. I always, my wife's like, "Why didn't you coach?" She asked me, like, "Why didn't you coach?" And I said, I spent so many years pouring myself into swimming, but I was aware, especially as an older elite, of the sacrifice that coaches make. It is to me, it's not a religion, but man, it is almost like this holy order of coaches. It is a monk-like existence. You are standing on deck, holding space, and you have the minds and hearts of kids that you're guiding. And and you're not at home for dinner. Oftentimes, you're missing a lot of weekends. And so my answer to my spouse was, I just don't have it in me. I didn't want to make that sort of dedication. It was too much. So deep respect for this choice. And I think what's fascinating about you is that you've gained mastery. You're being acknowledged for that. When this happened, when this came down, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes because there were a lot of coaches in the running. We're not going to talk about those coaches, but we were aware that the best of the best were being interviewed, but for a super club. And I made a phone call to, and I think I can share this. I think I can make this public. So I called the head of sport development for USA Swimming, Joel Shinnefield. He was the former executive director of the College Swimming Coaches Association. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, what's up? I'm taking your temperature, and tell me your thoughts on Meg." And he goes, "She develops kids from age group to Olympic trials cuts, and that's the business that we're in. That's the thing that we care about. We care about performance, and soup to nuts, nose to toes. She's got it. Great hire." And I thought that was I really trust that guy. He's got a lot of respect for him. So let's get into it. The expectations for a club like SwimMac is that you're going to be producing people that make Olympic trial cuts. You have these young kids coming into the program. What are you looking for? What's the starting point? If there's a 10-year-old little Jane Doe, she's on deck, and where do we begin?
That we like trying. That's fun. That getting out there and throwing yourself into something is fun. I think if you have that, I think you're basically good to go in the process of swimming. I mean, not everybody is going to be Mel Stewart. We don't all have that, but like we talked about the national team stuff. I wasn't a great swimmer on the national team. But I maximize my potential, and so what I want for them is to be into it and to get after it and to expand and to get better and be totally excited about that process. And then things happen, because if you're open to it and you're excited about it, you are going to think about your streamlines, or you are going to push that little edge more, and good things are going to happen. You were talking about coaches and how this is it's a hard life. And on the plane down, I watched that Netflix special, Undefeated. And I thought I was going to watch a movie about a football team that was undefeated, and they lost their first game. And I thought, well, so obviously not. and then I understood that they are undefeated in life. They got out of there, and nothing will defeat them. And that's what we're supposed to be doing with sport. In fact, he said in there, I wrote it down for the kids. It was something like, we play football to get at your hearts, or something. And so this swimming thing that we do is a conduit to get there. So what I really need from 10 and under Susie is that you're open for my access. Like if we have a point where I can get stuff into you and that stays open, whether you're 10 or 18 or 25, if there's a place for that energy to go back and forth and the knowledge to go back and forth, then we can do things.
I'm going to get more into the philosophy of coaching. We do want to cover a few beats first. It's you're stepping up. This is a tall order. how do you transition from what you've experienced so far in your career to a super club? To this is a 700 plus member team, and your position is, and you can clarify your position. So how do you make this transition? And then after that, you explain your position's a little bit different. You're going to be overseeing a lot of coaches. And how do you do that?
So the team that I own and that I'm with, Eastern Iowa Swim Federation, we're very widespread. So we need to be a team and flow not only in training but in culture. Over, I think my farthest swimmers, their houses are 400 miles apart, and so I've got a lot going on in a lot of different places, and the practice that he does over here and that she does down here, we have to dovetail because people are coming into the base practice when they can travel. And so we've got this, I have a system in place with curriculum and delivery across all levels, across a giant span. And it comes together with the culture of the way that we do things. And so I already really have this in place. So there might be one swimmer up here and 5 swimmers down here and 10 over here. And SwimMac has 300 here and 400 here. But actually that's a lot easier because I only have 2 sites. And I have a staff of full-time coaches. And they're really smart. And there's so many resources. Actually, when I was going through trying to understand what this position was, they said, this person does, these 6 things, and this person does these 6 things, and this other person does these 7 things. And each time they said that, I kept thinking, like, well, what am I doing? Because I already do those things. I do those 21 things right now. So I know what needs to be done, and now I have help in a way and through resources that I didn't have. We're building, but SwimMac has 2 50-meter pools. I don't have any 50-meter pools. The resources of with the knowledge base, the population base, the cultural base is going to level up the systems that I already have in place. And we talked about my coaching philosophy a bit. That's for anybody. Like somebody on the national team that tries to learn from their coach, gets up on the block nervous, puts their heart out there, and lives with what happened, is the same exact thing that a 12-year-old is doing. A B-level, not state qualifying 12-year-old is trying to listen to their coach, and then they're going to get up there and they're going to be a little scared, and then they're going to throw their heart on the line, and then they're going to live with what they did, and then they're going to cycle it again. That's all we're doing. So it is different. Like, yes, okay, I'm coming from a small club to a giant club. It's a different context, but I'm doing the same thing and they are doing the same thing. And the system is already in place to help everybody level each other up and come together to do that thing. So it is different, but in my mind, it's actually more similar than different.
It's I didn't think about the fact that this is the hurdle for coaches all across our country. And this is the lifeblood of United States swimming at the coach level, which is that we have a lot of extraordinary coaches toiling away, and they're wearing 50 hats, and they're managing so much. And when you ascend to the level that you have ascended to now as head coach of SwimMac, it in many ways it is easier. And I didn't consider that. I'm full disclosure. I was so wrapped up in how proud I was of you, but how proud I was of SwimMac. I went to the SwimSwam nerds, the staff, our co-founders, and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think about this? This is what's your opinion? Because trust me, they all have opinions, and they mirrored my feeling, no hesitation. It's like, yeah, this is a really smart move. This is a great move. This is what we expect from SwimMac. So there's a lot of, you definitely earned this position, and it seems like a great fit. but going back to that point earlier, it's I've been too wrapped up in how proud I was of you and of SwimMac to even consider that. Yeah, in many ways, this is going to be a whole lot easier for you, and I think that I imagine that because coaches evolve over time and get better and better. You see them standing on deck, and they get better and better. This is going to be a quantum leap for you. And yeah, this is you're going beyond the PhD. This is going to be the postdoc.
I actually do feel like my team in Iowa was my PhD project. There were so many systems and so many projects I needed to do for us to function. And because I like to compete, like I am a nice person, but I'm also like very competitive. I'm very competitive. And I think I'm mostly competitive with my what I think of my best self as. So if I know that I can do better, then I'm very driven to do better. And when I compare myself to what I think the model should be for what I do here as a coach and how well I do, then I just pick away, because there's so many ways we can level up as coaches. I don't think we're ever going to run out. So pick a project and level it up, and pick another one and level it up. And at some point, there's going to be a synergy involved when you get enough of that stuff coming up. And COVID for me was interesting because, like I said, in the car, we turned around, and on the way back, my first thought was, how am I going to serve these kids? How am I going to keep my team, the people, the little people on my team and their parents to some extent, how am I going to keep them okay? Ultimately our job as swim coaches is to create a context for these kids to experience swimming in the best way possible. So now do that without water. Okay, it's like I got an assignment from my professor. Okay, great. You can deliver swimming in that context. And I believe you're delivering the kernel of swimming, but now deliver the kernel of swimming without water. Go. So we did that. And actually, I think it made our swimming time, now that we are back in the water, better, because the conversations that we got to have were deeper and covered all the things that I want to talk about. And so now when they come back to the pool, we've had a deeper conversation, and I don't have to have that while we're swimming. So they leveled up during that time, and I believe I leveled up during that time. So, I mean, there's always a way to get better. Choose one, actually level up. Like sometimes we think about the ways that we can get better, and then we don't do anything about it. we don't finish. We start, and then we wander off and get distracted. And so I think one of the things that is important in a level up, whether you're an athlete trying to work on your underwaters, and that seems great at the beginning of the season, and then now we're doing 500s and I can't do it for that many walls, and now I'm tired, and so I'm just going to drop that, and I'll start again in March, and then I'll start again with my underwaters in September. At what point do you actually own that as an aspect and it's integrated, and then you level up something else because you don't lose that block? And I think it's the same for us coaches as it is the same thing we're asking our swimmers to do. I think we need to model that.
Coming from a coach-owned program to a program where you're answering to a board, it's, I started thinking about that, and that would trip me out. I'm somebody who has a lot of ego. I like to control things. There's a lot of parity that in our company. So among the co-founders and owners, everyone has their own responsibilities, and we stay out of each other's real estate. So I'm just thinking through this now. It's like going from coach-owned to a board, a parent-run club. That seems daunting, but I have a feeling that you're still dealing with the same HR situations and the same. I have to have a relationship with these parents and service their kids. Do you perceive a difference, or is it the same thing?
I mean, the big difference, actually, the first words out of my mouth when the conversation was opened was, thank you very much, but I'll never work for a board. And I have so much agility. Like, if I think it's a good idea, or I want to try it. If I want to, jog left or post right, if I think that's a good idea, then I answer to me and I answer to the delivery of my product, which is serving these kids. So in a coach-owned environment, yes, the content is the same. There's season plans and there's marketing. And, I think some coaches come into some frustration with boards, which is valid. And they say, I just want to go coach-owned, so I don't have to deal with this anymore. Okay, well, I think there's some misplacement when they say, I'll be my own boss and I don't want the board to be my boss. I think there's some misplacement because now every single client is your boss. So you don't deliver a good product, then you're out. There's no one to protect you. You are out there on your own. And so if you can stand on your product, then you're going to be just fine. You're going to be great and no one's going to hold you back. So I think in the highs and lows, I think potentially, a board can go this high, but you don't have the freedom to go this high. And a board, you can fall, but they'll protect you on the bottom. Whereas without the ceiling and the floor, you better hit it. So I think they're getting to know the people at SwimMac. I came in with that perspective, like, oh, you're going to limit what I can do. And I don't want to have to explain everything to you. And now after this transition and after conversation, I actually feel like I have a team of people helping me. They want me to succeed and they want the team to succeed. And I've never had a team in terms of a bunch of adults behind me before. And I made the switch to this could work for me when I realized that to this point, I basically did everything alone. And now I actually have support. I don't have to do everything alone. And that offers a dynamic that actually blows through the ceiling, because together we can do so much more. And I'm definitely a team player person. Like in my little summer league experience, when I found out that we're scoring points and then a team wins, my first question was like, Mommy, did I score points for the team? I thought that was just the greatest thing ever, that I could score points for the team, and I think that's really what happened with this transition, is I realized that I could be part of a team that where we have more together. And that was kind of my flipping point.
It's I think it's a lie when you own your own club or when you own your own business that you live in it. I think you have so many responsibilities and it is on your shoulders. I think you tell yourself that this is better. I think you tell yourself this is better so that you can look through the hard points, all the little hidden struggles and hurdles that no one ever sees when you're toiling away on your own. And the truth is that you do have more support when you're at this level. But also, SwimMac is this is a sophisticated culture. It's been in place for a long time. Are you familiar with Pete Carney or Jeff Gackle? Do you know those names?
So Pete reached out to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's one of the things that has been really humbling and I'm like deeply grateful for is the support that was offered and the love that was offered over this transition. And I love my friends in swimming. I'll do anything for them, but it's not because I think they'll do anything for me. It's because I love them. And the outpouring of we've got you, we're proud of you, and yes, you deserve this, and yes, you're going to be great. Run on, Megan, run on. We've got you, was staggering. And so in the outpouring of texts and emails, I got an email from Pete Carney, and I don't know him. I've never crossed paths with him, and he's the founder of SwimMac.
He's founder of SwimMac. He's and then he led North Carolina at the LSC for forever.
Yeah.
Uh, so foundational player there. Yeah.
Foundational player. And when he reached out with his support and offer of continued support, I just thought I got to do well with this. I mean, it's like Vince Lombardi just gave me the game ball. Like, I better run with that.
His connections in swimming are so deep. This guy was just always there. So he started before it was Swim Mac, it was Mac.
Right.
And then he brought in Jeff Gackle, and Jeff Gackle was a great hire. But Pete was the head of the local swim committee there. I think he's been on the board of USA Swimming probably more than a few times. But he was one of these guys who he loved swimming, and he was a volunteer. And then he was a photographer. Like he took. So there was probably 10 or 15 year period where if you saw a picture of a swimmer competing, you were probably looking at a Pete Carney picture. So real sweetheart of a guy. So it's good to know that he reached out, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I felt really good.
This is a situation where what are your expectations going in terms of having this many athletes? And because I hate to say it's a factory for champions, but it kind of is. It's where's your head at when you're stepping in and you're going to be overseeing 700 kids, and it's not going to be like I'm looking at a few age group kids who have talent. It's more than likely you're going to have several that you're going to go, wow, these kids. I know that every kid's important, but you're going to see it's an exciting moment in swimming. Everybody celebrates this. We report on kids breaking state records as young as 9 and 10. People flip out and it does news like Michael Phelps' story.
Yeah.
What is your expectation there?
So, I mean, I want to circle back to the fact that, yeah, high performance is fun and exciting. But so is a kid breaking 30 for the first time or getting their first B cut. That's actually exciting, actually. So yes, there are a lot of kids doing a lot of cool things, and I want to celebrate all those cool things. For a period of time, my son went to a school where the principal or the headmaster was outside every morning greeting people, and there's a lot of kids at that school. So there's probably the same amount of kids in a elementary school or middle school or high school setting that I have on this team. But if the principal can know the names and be connected with people, so can I. So I don't think it's unrealistic to know the people on my team. I mean, right now I know 135 kids and all of their parents and their siblings. And, it's not really a tall order. I mean, how many people do we know on the national team? I mean, I could tell you stories about 700 people. So if these are my people, I'm going to know all 700 people. And I really don't think that's crazy to say, because Mel, you and I know thousands of people. So building relationship, I don't have to have coffee with them every day, and I don't need to sit down and do Tommy's homework with them, but do I know how he's doing when I watch those kids and, Tommy's dragging his stuff behind and he's not with the group? Well, then I want to kind of hang out with Tommy for a second, because I know that Tommy's usually this, that, or the other. So I think, yes, it's a lot of kids, but plenty of people hold a great number of people in their hearts. So I don't think it's unrealistic to say that I can hold 700 people in my heart. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes a day with 700 people, but can I hold their welfare and guide their journey in swimming personally? Yeah, I think I can.
We had some commenters who were reading your story, and the report that came out with the announcement about the head coaching position, and they were like, "What is this? What is this coaching position?" It's like, what does she have to do? Is she this? Is she CEO of coaches? Can you explain what that relationship's going to be like and what you anticipate?
Yeah. So Well, I'll tell you, a long time ago, I guess it was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever. Um, I told you I want to level up areas in my coaching, and we'll never run out of those things. And one of the areas I wanted to level up was relationships and communication, and making sure that I could find that button or that leverage point for each person. So I did a certification for a life coach, and going through that process kind of flipped the way that I think about performance. And what I'm doing here at SwimMac is yes, I've got to get kids to high performance, but getting coaches to high performance gets the kids to high performance. So I think it's swim life coaching, really. So coaches are frustrated with all sorts of different aspects of what they do. So how do I remove those barriers or smooth out those barriers or make their lives easier as a coach who understands that is a barrier, that's hard? How do I free that up? How do I look at this in a way that smooths their ability to create high performance swimming? Because there are incredible coaches here. There's no lack of content, but do they have the elbow room, and do they have the creativity to succeed? And when a kid moves through the program, what does that system look like? And what do we need? What bolts and screws do we need to tighten up as they go through? And what's the time to press the ignition? And so what a coach of coaches is creating or facilitating high performance in the adults just as much as they are in the kids. And so it isn't just that I have 24 kids in the water that need to win junior nationals. It's that I need to play the long game, which is my favorite game to play. I need to play the long game with how am I setting up these 11, 12-year-olds for success? And how do I have that conversation with the Dolphin division coach in order to make sure that they have the tools they need as they move through the program? So are the 10 and unders getting their toolkit of a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver? Do they know how to use tools? Great. And then are the 11, 12s getting pieces of wood and putting them together in different ways? Great. Are the 13, 14s learning how to build a structure? And then is the senior group becoming an architect of design for their future in swimming based on the fact that they've got a hammer and they've got a screwdriver and tools, and they've learned how to put things together? Now create your future. And so I'm kind of guiding that process for the whole group through these amazing coaches that are really, really good at delivering hammers and teaching people how to use hammers, or really, really good at teaching kids the different ways that you can put the wood together. So there's a 30,000-foot view on this architectural project that we're systematically designing for these kids.
About 10 minutes left. We're about 9 minutes left. There's certain milestones you reach when you're a kid, and it's I'm thinking back on my father's relationship with Frankie Bell, who was a legend in North Carolina. Frankie was who developed me. She's the reason why I love swimming. And he was in a negotiation with her. They really had a great relationship. That my father's thing was, he wanted, until I was about 12, he wanted me to play all sports. And he did not want me to go to more practices unless I started to plateau. So there was a period of time where I went to 3 practices a week, and that was it. And then it was 4 practices, and then it was 5. But my father was he wanted me to have a full experience, but he was also holding back. He didn't want me to hit 11 sessions a week too soon. He was very concerned about that. And I didn't do 11 sessions a week until I was 14, 15 years old. And even then, there was a variation on that later on. So what's your philosophy when you have this relationship with parents, and that's like my father had with Frankie Bell? What does that look like?
I think that parents, certainly at the age group level, 10 under, 11, 12, I don't think there's anyone more excited and passionate about the sport than they are. And that is amazing to be around, because they're full of hope and promise and opportunities. And sometimes as coaches, we've been in it for a long time. We've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids go through the sport. And age group, swimmers and parents are passionate and excited in general and optimistic. And I love that. So I want that. I want parents to say, what can I do? How can I support this process? And my response to them usually involves, hey, we've got a hammer and a screwdriver and a saw, and we got to get really good at this because you're going to need that later. And I think sometimes maybe a lot of parents, it's their first time through the sport of swimming. They don't know. They really don't know what we're building, what treehouse is going to come out of that. And we don't know what's going to come out of that. Every kid is different, and their path is different, and their trajectory is different. So when it comes to like, hey, we're really good at this hammer using, can we have some wood now, to play with? Well, we're not quite ready for that because there's the screwdriver, and we got to get good at using all the tools before we move on to playing with that. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to think of what your hammer is. I would call, there were two moments as a kid growing up when things changed, and one was I didn't fear swimming the mile.
Yeah.
And everyone's not going to do the mile, but Tom Jager, who was the fastest man on earth on balance for a longer period of time, the Mappiandi, if you guys know these two titans of sprint, but his first big meet was the mile. That's what he swam. So, but that is sort of that's a hammer. You got to be able to pick up and swing that hammer and know it. That was a big moment in my career. And that was at 12, 13, 14, 15 was no longer fearing 200 butterfly. And that was because of one coach, a guy named Bruce Stein, who swam at NC State. So that's a hammer. Is that a saw? What do you call that, Megan?
Well, I mean, you need to know, I think at the 10-meter level, I think you need to understand how to handle yourself in the water. So that's where sculling and floating and not being on the wall, being in space and being able to move yourself is really important. And I think at the 11-12 level, and yes, you need to know where to put your stuff, like where do you put your elbow and when do you put your head somewhere. That's really important. At the 11-12 level, I think you learn to hurt a little bit, and that's okay. And that there's so many good things that can come when I step out of my comfort zone. So now I know what to do. And I know that expanding it and doing it in a way that's not necessarily comfortable will give me rewards. And now I'm 13, 14, and I'm going to think about like putting that together because I can't do one without the other. So I can't just play pretty and I can't just grind. So at 13, 14, I need to bring my pretty and my grind together because we all know when you're able to sustain a really hard workout without losing your technique, now you're moving. So that's that 13, 14. And then, 15 over, like I said, you are the architect. What do I want to do with this? I get that there's technique. I get that there's discomfort and push, and I get that I have to have both. Now, what am I going to do? And I think when we're co-designing this thing together, there are endless possibilities of what you can do. And yeah, I think mastering the tools at each level and being open to the preparedness and the creativity of each kid within the context of all the support that their family gives. Look, that their parents are the ones that can be your greatest supporters. So when I say, Tommy, you need more sleep and I need you to stop eating Pop-Tarts, who's in charge of that? And I am not in charge of that. Their parents are in charge of that. Do I have their support? Do they understand why I want them to do that? Are they on board with the exciting possibilities we're trying to create for this kid's future? And if they are, things are going to be awesome. So, I don't have a lot of fights with parents when they're super excited and say, I want more, because I want more too. There's always more to do.
So in terms of your transition to Charlotte, where are we at in the process right now? Because you're in a hotel room.
I flew in last night. This morning I went for a walk and my ears actually got like freezing cold. And I was like, false advertising. when I was down here meeting people a couple of weeks ago, I was just sweating. I was sweating. And I'm like, okay, this is going to feel like a hot pool all year round. And then this morning, I was like, oh, apparently I need a hat and gloves. So where I am is, in a like a washing machine of like everything's different. And, that's actually hard for me because I really like sort of a routine of momentum. I don't want to think about, like, one of the things that I enjoy is having a uniform because I don't think that's one less thing I have to think about. Is it the blue shirt or the gray shirt? Done. I can start thinking about my work. So transition, I mean, I think it will be difficult for me because now everything is new. I don't know my route to work. I got lost 3 times on the way to my hotel last night. I don't know where to eat. I don't know where the grocery stores are. It's a Harris Teeter instead of a Hy-Vee, and so there's all those little teeny tiny things that I think my brain is just gonna have to settle down with. And so I think I'm gonna lay low in a lot of that side of my life and just breathe through it and just try to get some momentum so I can concentrate on what I love.
Charlotte's a big city. People don't realize that it's a big place, and it has a lot to offer. But you drive 20 minutes in one direction, and you're in farmland. So Charlotte has a lot to offer, and the culture has a lot to offer. It's a good place. I wanted to stay there and live there. And my wife's like, "No, we're not moving there. Your mother's there." That's a joke, but it's a funny joke. But I'm so glad that you gave us some time to come on, and I hope that you check back in with us because this is a big moment. It's a big transition, and I know right now you don't know what it is. All we know is that the expectation of success is there.
It's always there. I think all of us coaches, no matter where we are, whether we're coaching a 50-person team or a 500-person team, the expectation and the direction that we all are aiming at is exactly the same. And when coaches do that together, when we can support each other with that, I think it levels up the whole world of swimming.
Have you told all your peers? Have you told your national team peers?
I mean, I haven't really made an announcement. I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem, my national team peers are crazy awesome. They're such incredible people that, not to downplay this because this is amazing for me, but like, Michelle Griglione, who's, doing her chemical engineering at NASA, like that's great, Megan, I mean, good for you. And she would mean it. But at the same time, like, is what I do more important than, rocket scientists?
They would all be very proud. I meant to go and just tell everybody, and but I will. I just want to make sure everyone knows because it's for us it's like it's one story, it's one announcement. There's one social media, and sometimes people miss it. I want to make sure everybody knows, but everyone's gonna be very excited. And we only have to tell a few people, and they'll tell somebody else.
Yes, definitely.
All right, come back on. Any parting thoughts?
I'm excited for the opportunity, but I'm also excited for all the connections that this has rekindled for me. And for me, whenever I feel, like I said, I'm team. I'm all about team. And when I feel that support, it's like the swimming community and our national team friends and all my well-wishers have like reminded me that I have a cape on my back. But the cape is what they gave me. And they're like, fly, go. You can do this because of all of this support. And I think that's just, I get to experience that every day. I'm feeling pretty good right now.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.